Good evening, beautiful people. How are we all doing? And welcome to BRL Tier 1 Round 6. We are here in Belgium for the Belgium Grand Prix. Obviously, where else are we going to be for the Belgian Grand Prix? France? Obviously not. We're at Spa-Francorchamps, obviously, as well. Where else are you going to go for a Belgium Grand Prix other than the greatest circuits ever made? Evening, mate. How are you doing? I'm doing just wonderfully. I hope you are doing just as well as me. Either way, hopefully, we have got ourselves a good race on our hands. Unfortunately, we're going to be playing quite a long game of find the missing drivers because we've only got 13 in today, so it might take a little while to get through them all, but not to worry. First, let's take a little look. I was about to say take a little look at the constructors' standings, but it's decided to go all a bit doolally on me and not be the correct size anymore. So let me just fix that momentarily and place it, somewhat in the middle of the screen. Wonderful. Right, okay. So, as it stands at the moment, Racing Bulls currently sit at the top of the standings on 123 and quite confidently at the top. Alpine jumped somehow, don't ask me how, 6 places up to second with 93 after last round. That is just a ridiculous statistic. Sauber in P3, McLaren P4, and Ferrari P5, all within 80. And really, we may as well throw in Red Bull as well in P6 because they're all within 10 points of each other. So the midfield fight is still pretty strong, but I think it's pretty clear-cut on who's going to be doing very well in the constructors. Driver standings tell you a kind of similar story as to what's going on because Mr. Cookie is currently sat at the top of the table with all 123 points for the Racing Bulls team. In fact, he does not have a teammate on the board with any points whatsoever. He's done all the work to get himself into the Constructors' Championship lead, and I can only imagine he'll be helping boost that growth in times to come. Other than him, though, we have still got a little bit of scrapping going on. Orion and Henson are within 10 points of each other, albeit it's, 8 points separate the two of them. Bad MX sitting another 9 points back from our Henson. So it's still roughly close in the top three, but I'm going to say quite comfortably, Mr. Cookie is sitting in a very good position as of right this second. So, with that in mind, I probably ought to turn my controller on and hopefully get it to function properly because we've got some racing to look at. And since my controller's just decided, like, nah, I'm not going to work, I'm going to try and use a keyboard for this entire race. So, do bear with me whilst I fix some important things that I need to fix first. So, we want gap to leader, we want lap data, and we want the full track map. We can hide that and then just use who's started off first, our Henson. No, it's not our Henson, it's Aramleth. There we go. He's already invalidated, so the Ferrari of Catet is through next. And is doing pretty well for himself as of right now, as far as I can tell. Right, let's play the game of who is missing. So we have only got one Racing Bull, so we're missing a Racing Bull. We've only got one Red Bull, so we're missing a Red Bull. We're missing a Ferrari. We're missing a Kick. We're missing both Williams. We're missing both Aston. Oh no, we're only missing one Aston Martin. Not missing any Mercedes, not missing any Alpine, not missing any Haas. Everyone else we are missing. Which I think is what I covered. Yeah, only seven missing. I say only seven missing. Not exactly ideal, but oh well. Catet is currently running through. F6, that's what I want, right. Is currently running through here and is doing an okay time. I mean, he's not used any ERS, so for the lack of ERS and probably the slowing that has occurred because of that, that's not too bad going. So he's obviously going for a second outlap to try and given the best possible opportunity at getting to a good start here. So the Kick Sauber will be really the first person to give us a proper indication of time. They're on 1:34 already. Ferrari deciding to come in. Catet not going to try and go for another lap. So Orion goes through 1:42.9 to set our first time today. Kresnos just joining him. Blackbone will be the next man across. Goes 1:42.907. Ridiculously close. And Mr. Cookie through next 1:42.189. Puts himself at the top of the standings as it stands. Jens through next. That's not. Oh, he's moved up already. He goes over a second, 1.8 seconds slower to put himself comfortably in P5 at the moment. He'll be hoping to hurry along that nice and sharpishly. Bald, I believe, has just started his lap, and I think that might be the single greatest name I've ever seen, because how brilliant is that? Bald. I love it. Bar Mr. Bald, no one else is on a fast lap. You might be thinking John Meister is. He's not. It's invalidated. But he is going to go to the line and go for another lap by the looks of it. And he has got somewhat a quantity of ERS, but I wouldn't have really expected him to be going for that lap. Either way, Bald is currently into Sector 2 and down towards probably the most challenging area of the track. It's imperative that you get these corners hooked up because they can cost you very dearly if you get them wrong in sort of any shape or form. I've just realised as well you've had no wonderful game audio up until this point, so you can now hear the cars roar around the circuit as I chat over them as well, which I imagine is significantly nicer than just listening to me go on forever. Got quite a few people now on outlaps. Ban MX, Amon FR, Henson, Alligator, and Catet all coming out. Mr. Cookie is still out on track. I can only imagine that he'll be coming in soon. Yep, he's just not quite made it to the line yet. Now, I'll be totally honest, I have no idea how fast a good sector time is. It's usually after the first run of laps that we can usually start to weigh up how good people are driving. Bald, unfortunately, invalidating his time there by the looks of it, is going to try and go for another lap. He goes for 1:42.187 with that lap time, which would have put him on pole position had he not invalidated. So we can only imagine that with that invalidation, he did gain a little bit of time, hence the invalidation, and hence possibly the pole position. But I'm cutting the corner massively there. So I think he carried on only to say, this is what I am able to do. Right, okay, this is where this places me. Even though I didn't actually set the lap, this is where it would have placed me had I have set it. Because, especially if you're going to be a front runner like that, you don't really need the banker lap, because the next lap you're going to do is probably going to be all right and work for you. So it's not too much of an issue for him. So I think he can relax a little bit. Should have some more people starting lap times now, I imagine. We've got a Ferrari will be the first of the lot to have gone out on their out lap roughly at the same time and starting their lap. So Catet running down the back straight at the moment. Obviously hasn't set a time so far. Sector 1 goes at 1:31.695, which doesn't seem too bad. Alligator also well and truly a good way through this lap. So maybe Alligator is somebody we want to keep an eye on a bit earlier on than Catet. So I'll take that into account just for now. At 1:15.664 as he goes through Sector 2 and into Sector 3. I'll say, Jens, I don't expect anything this race. I hate this track and I'm awful at it. At least you're honest. You've got good reasoning. Well, I can only give you the utmost respect for taking that into account, but just, you know, don't go absolutely mental on it. It's going to be, maybe a 1:44. No, not quite. 1:43.995. That puts Alligator P5 as it stands. Do excuse me. I've just whacked my microphone. That hurt quite a lot. 1:15 coming through there. Who's just joined? It's Muja. No idea. Either way, he's gone into the Williams, so we now have one Williams rather than none. Cadet goes P5 with that time of 1:43.5. I think that was Blackbone that just jumped up there. No, it's Bad MX. Bad MX just went into P2. We got McLaren coming through now. Our Henson just run into P7. Pardon me. And I think after that, next car through, another Haas Kresnos. Just starting a lap, I do believe. Yeah, by the looks of it, yes, just starting a lap. Who else have we got going around at the moment? We've got Blackbone on a out lap, Muja on an out lap, as well as John Meister and Bald. So all of them should be setting times fairly soon. Mr. Cookie, by the looks of it, is going to hold off from going going for his second flyer and waiting until the final runs go, which I mean is logical. You don't want to go out on a flyer for no apparent reason if you're comfortably ahead by what is right now 0.4 of a second, and what was, when he made the conscious decision, 0.7 of a second. He's fairly comfortable where he is at the moment. I'm watching Kresnos at the moment. He'll be coming into Sector 3 very soon, so we will see how he's improving. He's currently P5, but not actually that far off from P3. Can definitely take that back with a decent lap here. It's a 1:14.3, so he is doing significantly worse this lap than any of his laps previously. Whether he can make it up and then some in Sector 3, it's what, 0.23. So if he could get himself 0.3 faster, he'd be sorted. Comfortable P3. Obviously, then Orion and Blackbone would have a really nice opportunity to take it back. But nevertheless, we can only hope. A boy can only hope. Kresnos are coming across the line. It's going to be a 1:42.553, which puts him P2. A really, really solid Sector 3 there. Crawled back lots and lots of time. And has just placed himself above Bad MX, and not particularly by much, but just enough where it could be seen as a little bit threatening. Blackbone coming through Sector 1 is faster, not by a lot, less than 1/10 of a second quicker, which comfortably puts him into P4, but doesn't get him anywhere near P5, so P3 for now. The coat hung on my door just scared the living daylights about me, and I ran off into the gravel. I have never seen a funnier reason to spin off. I was racing once. I think it might have been in BRL. I haven't raced very often in BRL, but every now and then I do hop in. It might have been BRL. It might have been PRL. I can't remember. Either way, I was doing a sim race, and I was sat there driving, and then my cat jumped on my lap. Didn't know he was there. Scared the living daylights out of me. I span. Luckily, didn't crash, but yeah, that was not a race to remember. There was someone was behind me, only about a second or so back, and they're like, "What the hell happened to you?" I was like, "You know, a cat jumped on me." All things to have happened. I was doing quite well. I was about P5 and all. Either way, should probably go back to the racing, because Blackbone has just gone and put himself P2 with that time. Big improvements through Sector 2 and 3. Must have been. Kresnos as well was going to be coming across to set a flyer, but unfortunately, with an invalidation, it means he doesn't get the chance. That'll be Bald coming across the line now. Let's see what he goes. Whoa, he's got himself fastest lap. And not only that, by some significant margin, a 1:41.775 puts himself 0.4 faster than Mr. Cookie, who in turn is on an outlap currently. And doesn't surprise me that has just occurred. That is a ridiculously quick lap in comparison to everything else we've seen so far. And I think it's put Mr. Cookie on his toes a little bit. Cookie may have hair, but he don't have pole position at the moment. Not looking good for the man. So yes, where was I? Who else have we got coming to the line at the moment? We've got Bantam X, who is on an outlap, and that is, I think that's Blackbone. No, it's not. Who is that? Amateur? No. Who's dark blue? Oh, it's Mr. Cookie. I forget that Racing Balls is now a dark blue colour. Right. Cookie is somebody that we really ought to be watching. See how he gets on. He's got to try and climb back 0.4 of a second, and what could probably be his final attempt, because it's going to take 1.5 minutes to finish this lap, and then it's going to be another 1.5 minutes before he gets in. Therefore, he won't have the time to go for another lap. He's slower through Sector 1, only by 0.04 of a second. But nevertheless, it means the mountain is just 0.04 of a second longer or higher to climb than it was previously. And it was already 10 times that large as it were. He's going to have a very big challenge on his hands. He's got Sector 2 and 3 to do it in. He gets himself storming through a double left. He's just amazing. You see the cars fling themselves into those two corners. P1 is just an amazing corner to watch. And all big skates on the exit there, and that is going to invalidate his lap time. Mr. Cookie will get another opportunity. He was faster through Sector 2, even with the invalidation, and I can only imagine the backing off that came from it. This does mean he's probably got a chance to dive into the pit lane, change tyres, and get back out and go for one more lap. He'll only just about have time if he goes for it, but he is going to go back on and go for another lap, or will he go slowly this lap? He's got 20 seconds to play with this lap, and I think he's using a lot of that time immediately. So he now needs to get himself back around. In 2 minutes time, I know he's just trying to gain as much energy as possible. I don't really know what he's doing. Finally accelerating again. Maybe trying to cool the tyres, quite possibly. That would make sense. Kresnos just starting a lap by the looks of it. He can definitely get himself into the top 3. Top 2 is going to be no fuel. Maybe that's a good shout. That could quite hang on. You maybe put it on 2.2 laps. That would be a huge mistake if you did. Massive corner cut. I can't make that out. No, that's literally just a blur. There's no real number there, unfortunately. Sometimes you can get away with just seeing it in the bottom right, like how many plus or minus laps they've got. Unfortunately, I only have a 1080p panel. I'm not seeing that at all. Orion has just gone and put in a wonderful lap time. He's put himself a second faster and therefore puts himself P2. So he really ought to keep on board with who's coming across the line now, because this is where it starts to get interesting. Both Blackburn and Cadet on outlaps. They're the next two people through. After that, it is an Alpine, I want to say. Is it Bald? Yes, it is. Then the McLaren of, I'm going to say, our Henson, my guess. Yes, it is. My controller's disconnected. Wonderful. Cheers for that. No, it didn't. It's a keyboard. That's the word I'm looking for. Amalev is the next man through. He's a 10th quicker. See what he can do. Gets himself across the line. Improves massively in Sector 3. Goes P12. Next driver across the line was Muja. He has just started his outlap. So now anybody that comes across the line is finishing their final laps. Kresnos 7 seconds slower. So he's had an absolute howler this lap. Or I think he might have set his lap previously. That lap is a write-off. Next through, Hunters, his first lap of the day. It's going to be his only opportunity to put himself on the board. See how he gets on. Hunters across the line. Goes P13. 2.1 seconds off the pace. Our Henson through next. See how he gets on. And then I believe he's got an Williams behind him, I'm going to say. See who comes across the line next. I'm not 100% sure. Alpine of Bald is not the next man through. It was Alligator. He's gone P10. Mercedes coming into the pit lane now. We got a kit car as well. That's Orion. Ferrari Cadet through next. Is going significantly quicker. Half a second quicker to say the very least. Mr. Cookie's time is done. He will start P3. Blackbone has still got an opportunity to gun it for pole position. He's going to have to work an absolute miracle if he wants to take it. big slide there by Cadet right at the very end, and that's going to really hurt his lap time. And now it lies on Blackbone to see how he gets on. It is an improvement. Can he get himself up into a better position? No, he can't. He's had an absolutely horrible Sector 3, and I believe that just about rounds everyone else out. Boulder's just gone and put in an even faster time, a 1:41.647, which puts himself even more firmly on pole position, as if he didn't need to be there already. Aramalev will be the final man through, spinning his way through the bus stop chicane. And I think that takes an end to our qualifying session. Yeah, he's in the pit lane. Everyone else across the checkered flag. Well, join us back in just a moment's time whilst we get everything ready for the race. Righto. We're at 5 red lights and we are away. Sorry for that. I was very slow to react to it, and Bald has gotten off to an absolutely magnificent start, and I think Mr. Cookie will be able to get it down the inside. Can he get himself up into P2? Yes, he can. Orion relegated to P3 already. Big moves for Badamex, who climbs up to P5. Could get past the Red Bull here as we go into Eau Rouge. Decides to back out of it. The guys behind, though, they stay in formation. Absolutely ridiculously risky of them. And they've elected to stay that to be the case anyway. Other than that, pretty calm start to the race. By the looks of it, Orion's gone for the move on Mr. Cookie. Got it done very nicely. Mr. Cookie pushed off onto the gravel. He's going to lose loads of positions for that. He's going to come back onto track much further down the grid than he have wanted to be, all the way down into P12. So huge losses there for Mr. Cookie. Our Henson just having to fend off the Ferrari driver, and Williams getting pushed on. Oh, Mercedes straight into the wall. No idea what happened there to Hunters, but he is still going somehow. No idea how he's managed to get away with that. Bald nearly breaking The 1 second barrier already, 3/4 of a second, and Orion doing just about as well with Blackbone behind him. Bad MX though, he's keeping onto Blackbone very nicely in contrast to the other two. He's really pushing on and trying to get an overtake done. So the mid-pack are still all very tightly knit together. Mr. Cookie having an absolute howler at the moment. All the way down in P11. Has regained 1 position since the gravel show trip. And he'll be very agitated because of that. An all good possible opening here for the Alpine. Can he get himself past Mr. Cookie? Took a really wild and different line and it hasn't quite worked for the Alpine driver. Mr. Cookie is going to put himself onto the defensive though. Can he keep the position? Indeed he can. He stays in P11 for now, and only issue is for him though is he's lost a significant amount of time to the cars in front. Jumping back up towards the front of the grid, and Blackbone is under big threats from Bad MX, who does indeed get past. Can the Haas do the double? He's going to go to the inside. Into the chicane they go, and I think the Haas is going to have a really good opportunity. Aston Martin has to cut the grass. Can Kresnos get through? Bad MX still holding on, and oh! Kresnos retiring from the session with a massive hit into the wall. Virtual safety car because of that. Excuse me there. Virtual safety car is out. Everyone has been grounded to the exact same pace, with Kresnos and Hunters both out already. We're down to just 12 drivers on lap 2. It's not exactly the best of starts to the race, I've got to say. Bold speeding up very quickly, so I can only imagine that the green flag is going to drop any second now. I know that you can go quite fast down the straights. It's all about the corner speed really in these virtual safety cars to make sure that your delta stays reasonably the same. And there we go, green flag does indeed drop. Bold does get off to a pretty solid start. Decent gap still to Orion, 0.8 of a second. Back to Bad MX, who's currently sat in P3. Comfortable there for now, but the car is behind are very close, so it could be very soon we see an overtake. I can only imagine down the Kemmel Straight are we going to have a lovely overtake. The Red Bull is right on the gearbox, goes to the left hand side. Aston Martin trying to defend. Williams goes for the double overtake, gets the move made. Mudja gets himself up into P3. Wonderful move. Blackbone does it in the corner, and you cannot complain about the Williams driver's move there. That was wonderful bit of racecraft, and gets himself up 2 places with zero effort, if I'm honest. He just sort of slotted himself up there, and no one could really complain about it. Orion has left the session, I can only imagine through disconnect, because he's still there driving and losing monumental amount of time to Bald, and Mudja catching at an insanely high speed. This is just because we have a really low AI level for anybody that disconnects to suffer a bit of a penalty for it. You've got 3 drivers, all very interested in taking this spot back. Red Bull on the left, Williams on the right. I think Blackbone has managed to retake that position very nicely and spins on the exit of the bus stop chicane. That's going to allow Mudja to get himself back through into P3. But under intense pressure from Bad MX, does get knocked slightly back there through that corner. Couldn't quite keep up with the Williams car. That opens the door for our Henson to possibly get in on this fight, and I think Cadet might be able to join them as well. But up the hill we go, and all bit of a bounce there from the McLaren, keeping himself just about in a straight line. Lord knows quite how. And this is going to be really interesting because the Williams is also going to have DRS, which means He's much less likely to be overtaken. Holds it to the outside and to the inside. Williams keeps himself in position. Bad move there by Bad MX. Falls 2 places to P5. Catet and Henson able to capitalise off of his poor line and get themselves up a position each. Looking slightly further back, and Orion just losing positions by the second. As Orion rejoins now, and down in 9th place will be where he rejoins, which will be very frustrating for him. Blackbone just getting up past Bad MX there, who has just left the session. Hence the rapid amount of overtakes being made. Mr. Cookie taking a spot off of Bad MX, and I believe Jens will not be far behind him to take that slot as well. Now look at this. Currently P2, 5 seconds to P1. So Bald doing an absolutely phenomenal job out in front at the moment. But Muja is going to be under a huge threat from Catet. That rhymed. Big move there by Blackbone. Holds our Henson out, and whoa, Mr. Cookie diving into the pit lane. Interesting call. It's lap 5 of 22. He must have some wing damage. That's the only thing I can imagine that this is for. Unfortunately, we're going to have to join him back in just a moment's time. Actually, I think we might just about get away with seeing what it's for. No wing change. Swaps to softs. Interesting call there from Mr. Cookie. Not 100% sure why he did it. Muja already losing a position to Catet. I can only imagine the Red Bull is going to try and have a pop as well. But with the help of Slipstream, Muja can manage to keep himself in P3 pretty comfortably. The Red Bull not able to do much there whatsoever. I guess the help and the use of ERS as well definitely gave him a fighting chance in that manner as well. But Catet able to open up a little bit of a gap here. I say a little bit of a gap. It's not even half a second, but in comparison to these 4 cars, it may as well be a light year of space between the two of them. Bad MX rejoin the session. He's going to rejoin down in P10. Orion, interestingly enough, rejoined now P6 and sitting comfortably about a second and a half away from these 4 drivers in front, and I can note that is just closing in slowly but surely. That is getting smaller and smaller, that time delta. So I think we might have another person to add to this fight very soon. Lots of stuff getting thrown up there through some of these corners. I think that might just be the F1 game having an absolute nightmare as per usual. I mean, nothing really is changing in that circumstance, is it? McLaren had a really poor line through there. That is going to force him off the back of the Red Bull a little bit too much, that he's, you know, he'll be able to bring it back a little bit through this next straight. But still, as it stands, nothing much to gain. I think Catet will be in significant trouble here. The Williams should be able to bring a rather historic battle to 2 very historic teams at a very historic circuit. It's history in the writing. Ferrari holds off really nicely there, defending right in the middle ground, forcing the Williams to take a choice whether to go all the way around the right or to hold the left and not make the move. And Williams choosing to hold the left, and the Ferrari keeping very nicely defending his position down the Kemmel. Kemmel? It is Kemmel, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not losing my mind. We got a yellow flag in Sector 2. That is Armaleth, and not 100% sure why, but he's pulling over to the right to let Mr. Cookie through, and he's getting himself underway. Not sure if he's... Oh, significant wing loss. No end plates on either side. Gets himself into the gravel. Narrowly misses the wall. And let's just hope that he stays narrowly missing things. We don't want another safety car. We don't want another person out so early into the race. Got to say, Spa does go by nice and quickly. It's because it's just such little laps. Oh, here we go. Big fight into the bus stop. I think Blackbone might get a good opportunity here to swing it to the left-hand side on the Williams. Gets himself back tucked in, back behind once more. Henson, no DRS, but has managed to catch up to these guys due to the fighting. We've now got a comfortable 5-way fight for P2 as it stands at the moment. Catet in the best and most favourable position of the lot, but the Williams in also a very desirable position because it is so easy to get a move done. We've seen it quite a few times already, but nothing comes of it as of right now. And I just had to check back to see whether our Henson and Orion were going to get themselves in kerfuffle. And Orion getting himself very on the wall and skatey in the rear. Managed to hold it, but only just. Keeps himself in 6th place at the moment. How long it can stay like that, I'm not too sure. These three, unbelievably close. Just ridiculous, the time gaps between them. Less than half a second split 3 cars is just ridiculous. Alligator, 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Should probably check, actually. See what's going on. Details. Penalties. 3 seconds for everybody. Everybody bar our Henson in the top 7 running mediums. Our Henson, Jens, Alligator all running softs, and Mr. Cookie running a set of hards. Only 2 people have come in for a stop yet. And I think, to be honest, that's about all the information I can give you. There's not a whole lot, but massive changes happening here on that bus stop chicane. Mudja falling all the way down to P5. Orion able to gain P4. Blackbone up to P3. Catet holds P2 for now, but will be maybe under a bit more pressure from the raging Red Bull, who did seem very confident in his moves. He was really going at the back of that Williams for such a long time. I imagine he's not going to be any less relentless against the Ferrari. Just behind him, though, you've got the fight between the Williams and the Kick. And the Mercedes just behind. I think John Meister's managed to sneak that one in as well. Yes, he has. Orion retakes P5 after being lost to it. And look at all Blackbone's made a move there. Of all places, he's gone for there. The one place that I just don't expect people to go for a move. That's where Blackbone decides to do it. He's managed to get himself up to P2. He has got a 3-second penalty to deal with. But it's better to get yourself up and try and pull away as soon as possible. We're on that 8 of 22. So we're not that far off from halfway through this race already. I know it's gone by so quickly. And everyone is looking fairly confident and competent as well in their manners. I say through sector 3, pretty quiet stuff until you get to the bus stop. Things can happen at the bus stop. We saw that last time out. Are we going to see it this time out? Blackbone, Catet, stay moderately snug. Whoa, what's happened to Blackbone? I say that at the moment Blackbone goes absolutely haywire. I think maybe lost the rear end or a bit of damage. Also a bit of collision rather than damage. Let's hope that he hasn't got damage. Damage wouldn't cause that. A collision would cause damage and that. Let's hope it was just the going in the complete wrong direction that Blackbone received. A lot of people picking up penalties at the moment. We got 3 in the top 5, albeit 3rd, 4th and 5th, currently on penalties. Mudja and Orion going a tip for tackle. Kit Car will get a slight advantage down the straight, but Williams will have inside line for turn 1 of the chicane. Doesn't have it for turn 2, and he's not only going to lose his position, he's going to lose another one as well. Blackbone sneaks in through the left-hand side. Nice capitalisation on the opportunity there. The Williams falling to P5, and John Meister just behind. Wanted to pick up some of those scraps of that fight, but hasn't made it work as of thus far. Aralath retiring from the session in the pit lane, meaning we only have 11 drivers remaining. That is it. That's all we've got. So let's hope that these 11 still put on a very nice show indeed, because we could certainly be doing with that. Catet has gotten himself away a fair bit from Orion now. It's 1.1, so he is just outside of the DRS zone. and is holding it around that 1.1 mark. He's hoping that Orion and Blackbone get caught up in a fight, because then that means that he can just extend it further, which is exactly what's been occurring, you know, if you weren't aware. Mujab straight into the pit lane, interestingly enough. John Meister taking that position, so has Bad MX as well. He's gained a position through that, and I think a few more people might as well. Henson into the pit lane. And all is fairly quiet on the grid as it stands. Catet's still got that second barrier. So no DRS for the Sauber, which puts him under massive threat from the Red Bull, who sneaks it past on the Kemmel Straight. No questions asked. Easy as that. That just wasn't challenging in the slightest, I don't think. For the Red Bull, just out. Swap. In again. Simple as you like. On lap 10. So 2 laps have passed since I last mentioned that. It's gone by quick, honestly. Going by pretty quick. What happens when you get like regular overtakes? Because it doesn't happen particularly often. Not in Formula 1 anyway. Unfortunately, this middle pack fight is beginning to disperse a little bit. We've only really got 3 competitors in it now. Red Bull, Blackbone, Sauber, Orion, Mercedes, John Meister. And really, we need John Meister to close the gap in a little bit more and have a proper 3-way fight, because at the moment it's a bit two-sided on a 3-sided die. I don't even know, can you get 3-sided die? Surely you can. I mean, you can get a 2-sided die. It's just a coin. That's smart, isn't it? John Meister into the pit lane. So he's clearly not wanting to take that fight anymore. Badamex also joining him. So I'm guessing undercut for those two. Blackbone and Orion now our source of entertainment. The only drivers within a second of each other. Oh, Catet as well is within a second of Blackbone. It's about 7/10 of a second. But look at this. They're going for the move at Radion. Not even before they get to the DRS zone is Orion already trying to get past. And I think that means he's going to be able to get a massive close down on Catet. It's now just 3/10 of a second as they go around into the corner. Basically touches the rear wheels of the Ferrari going into the chicane. Massive moves for the Kick Sauber driver, who really closes the gap down to try and take P2, I can imagine, on the very next lap. Was that a speck of dirt, or was that a speck of water on my camera lens? I'm not too sure, but I will certainly remain interested in it for now. By the looks of it, nothing more is coming on that camera, so I think it might have just been a speck of dirt. This is a shame. I was really hoping that that was going to be a water droplet, and then things were going to get really interesting. I can't believe it as well. Our Henson hasn't been here to tell me what it was going to be. Whether we were going to have wet or dry race. He always comes in and gives me weather report, and he hasn't today, and that makes me very depressed. So our Henson, my friend, do better. Bald has finally come into the pit lane. He's got an 11-second lead on everyone else at the moment. I want to see what tyres he's going to swap to. He's on mediums at the moment. Instinct tells me it's a set of hards. Indeed it is. It's almost like I've been a part of this game a little too long. Orion really keeping it close there through turn 1. That could open the door for Blackbone to put some pressure on during Eau Rouge, the corner that they're going through right now, and up the hill through Radion. I think that Sauber car is just so unbelievably close to Catet. With DRS open, he's going to storm straight past. Ferrari doing a good job to keep up. Little too late, though, to get into the drag race, because that allows the Sauber to get through, and currently, as it stands, into the lead of the race. But obviously, excuse me, Bald hasn't changed his Bald has changed his tyres. These three have not. Blackbone as well getting past Catet, having the Ferrari driver fall down to P3 as it stands, but not to worry, we should still see plenty of battling from him. At least that's what I hope is about to happen. Last thing I need is, you know, Catet to leave and it to go back down to a 2-man fight. Like, This gets interesting when it's a three-man fight. It's a bit boring when it's a two-man. Quite frustrating in situations like this where absolutely nothing is going on. Can't even talk to you about normal F1. Hasn't even been on. Okay, we got two of them diving into the pit lane. Orion and Cadet. Blackbone elects to stay out, trying to go for the overcuts. Brave move from the Red Bull. Can he make it work? I'm not too sure. I think he's probably betting on Orion and Cadet fighting through the first lap, which gives him a time advantage that he otherwise wouldn't get. Usually the undercut is significantly better than the overcut. Like 90% of the time, going for the undercut is a smarter decision. Whether it is hit, genuinely no idea. But we have come out into some spicy racing. Katesh just lost place to Bad MX, which makes sense. He'll be on tyres that are the correct temperature, rather than Katesh, which will be freezing cold. Henson just up the road, and all Orion getting himself past John Meister and getting him all up to P5 already. He's got a major 1.2 seconds up the road as well. The Williams has done a good job in generating a bit of gap between them. And what on earth's happening here? These two going side by side like absolute nutcase, and I think the Aston Martin finally swooping through. Yes, he is, into P6, and that was a bit of a risky move on behalf of both of those drivers. Orion with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Let's take a quick look at penalties, because it currently sits at Blackbone, Jens and Orion all on 6 seconds, Mudja, Bad MX and Alligator all on 3 seconds, and everyone else on none whatsoever. Good tech by the looks of it, swooping to the inside and now to the outside, drag racing John Meister, and gets the move made. Very nicely done. Blackbone into the pit lane. This could be interesting to see who comes out and where they do come out, because this is a very long list of drivers now, all running through this corner at the same time. Where is Blackbone at the moment? He's all the way down in P9, but he is going to exit. Obviously, he gets a much shorter run through turn 1, slots right into the middle of the fight, goes P6 for now. We got Orion in P4 at the front and our Henson in P9 at the back of this run of drivers. All of which could finish P4 happily. Orion losing 2 places. Aston Martin getting himself up 1. Red Bull doesn't quite manage the move in that. And Orion picks up a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. And really should be giving the position back to the Red Bull. But he has picked up a 3-second time penalty. So I can imagine that that's probably going to be the case anyway. There we go. Red Bull gets the position back off of Orion. John Meister as well, just behind, guessing past our Henson. And our Henson, by the looks of it, holding back Cadet all the way down in P8 for now. So a good improvement for our Henson, getting himself up that 1 place. You never know. It just opens the door to try and go for a new one. This is a properly fierce fight at the moment, but only really when you're on the Kemmel Straight. Nothing else particularly matters during the lap. Everyone sort of calms right down, takes a chill pill, sees what's happening, and then the Kemmel Straight comes back and they all get flared up and fight again. It's quite good fun, if I'm honest. Here we go once again. Let's see what rolls out this time. We've got a Red Bull pushing to the outside. Going to try and get past the Aston Martin, but it hasn't happened. Catet re-overtakes our Henson right at the back of the pack as well. But otherwise, a pretty calm starting fight. Bad MX getting right up and close personal with the Williams car. I think trying to defend from Blackbone. Yeah, taking some very different lines, Aston Martin, through the area. Maybe to cool tyres slightly a little bit, but he has got significantly faster tyres behind him. Blackbone's on a set of softs. Hence why he's really pushing that Aston Martin to its absolute limit of pace. He's doing everything he can to desperately try and keep it behind, but I don't know for how long he's going to be able to. Let's take a quick look at tyres. Blackbone on softs, Bad MX on mediums, everyone else in front on hards, Orion and John Meister on hards as well, Catet on softs, our Henson on mediums. Okay, so some really interesting variation in tyre choices. Aston Martin, I think, is going to lose the place and regain it to Blackbone, and then, yeah, hold it to Blackbone at the moment. Blackbone on the right-hand side. I think he's going to also try and go for the move on the Williams. This is like the worst possible camera angle of it. Williams gets himself into the front position, but it's a good run-through by the Aston Martin out of the second half of that corner. I think that is going to secure him the place for now, but Blackbone still sat in P5. Could go for the move. We're going to go too wide at Eau Rouge. That's just horrifying to watch. Orion coming flying through as well. This puts him right in contention for this fight. It's so unbelievably close. We got cars coming in 2 by 2 by 2. We got 3 wide, and oh, Orion really pushing the Ferrari off. Gets knocked off, goes sliding away into that, and I think that's really not Orion's day. Pushing Catet massively, I believe. And oh, it's a massive car pile-up. Cars going flying everywhere. I think that was John Meister going storming through and into the wall there. No idea what just happened, but utter chaos has erupted. I know that much for certain. And John Meister Orion pushing Catet well and truly off the track. This is totally unacceptable racing from Orion as it stands at the moment. Really not being delicate or careful at all by any means or circumstances. This Kick Sauber driver is not behaving in a manner that we have come to expect. John Meister with a 3-second time penalty. Majo is going to have to be very careful in making this move here as to not get himself put into the wall, it seems, at the moment. McLaren also trying to bring a bit of heat to the flame. He's going to jump to the inside, but actually I think it's going to be the McLaren and the Williams that end up in a fight. That's going to allow Orion to push slightly further on. Catet also getting in on this fight, puts himself back up into the lead of this little three-way fight. Catet goes P5 into P6. Henson holds P7 for now, and the 4 of them are going to get a good run in and up Eau Rouge, and I think Orion is going to be in a bit of trouble, and oh, hits the Red Bull a little bit and goes skating off. Big loss of control there by the Orion car. Rejoins the track in 7th, so the bottom of this 4-way fight, and I think we're going to have a wonderful fight here between the Williams and Ferrari. Williams gets much better around the outside, and Catet holds P5 for now. Henson in P6, Orion P7. Seemingly significantly quieter through Sector 2. Everybody running through the single file sections pretty nicely. Bad MX leaving the session. After being in the pit lane of all things. I think he's stopped right on the pit lane exit, I believe. He's stopped there. I don't really know what's going on there, if I'm honest. Not causing the safety car any issues, but I am still very confused nevertheless. Bit of a gap beginning to form between our Henson and Catet. They're sort of running in 2 pairs, and look at this. This could be a really interesting fight now as it gets all crammed up at the bus stop chicane. Williams driver holding the position nicely for now, though. Jens also joining in on this fight, all switching over to the next side to start this fight once again. Back down the Kemmel Straight we will be going. Before that, we've got to get ourselves through Eau Rouge and Radion. Let's see how it plays out. Oh, that car is literally just ghosting through there. McLaren R. Henson holds it nicely through there. That's going to be an interesting fight. It's also going to be interesting here. And I think the Ferrari is going to get cast comfortably past the Williams. And I think the Williams is also going to have to maybe fight for his position here with Orion of all. Yeah, he's going to have to fight with Orion. He's lost that many places. Doesn't quite manage to lose all three. It's only two for now, but Orion will have the inside line here. Holds it quite comfortably. Also, he's missing a front left end plate. So he'll be having significantly reduced ability to corner in comparison to all the other drivers out on track. Can't possibly be helpful in a situation like this, but so has the McLaren. Our Henson's also missing a front end plate, and so's the Ferrari. How am I only just noticing this? Everyone's missing front end plates. I think the only person that isn't is the Williams driver. Okay, this makes sense as to why they're all being able to keep quite as close as they are. Because they're all in the same struggling boat. Catet's managed to pull away quite nicely here with his soft tyres. Put himself up into P4, and it's 0.6 of a gap. But I can only imagine the Williams is going to be able to catch through the corners because he's just got that much more downforce at the front end. And he's got downforce that's all skew width. It's all equally balanced and set up for this track. And back down the run once again. The most important part of the circuit. And Orion with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings there. And we get going. Once again, DRS wide open. I think the Ferrari is so far forward, though. It's not going to cause anybody any problems. Everyone is going to sit into their exact same positions. Nothing changes through that set of corners, which is a rarity to say the least. Down that straight, no one making any moves whatsoever is, yeah, certainly not something that I'm new and accustomed to in this race so far. We're on lap 19 and 22, so we are coming up towards the end of the race now. So maybe people trying to protect themselves a little bit more. And all the Williams spinning there and going round backwards. He's managed to stay in the race. I saw him go round. That was a nasty, nasty spin. I don't know whether it was because he got caught on the curb or whether he just put power down too early. Unfortunately, he's now in the same boat as everyone else, but he's now quite a significant amount of seconds behind everyone else. So that is probably Midge's good opportunity at picking up some solid points over. He's currently P9, so it's still going to be some decent points, but maybe not quite as many as he had originally hoped for. Big upsets for the Williams driver. That promotes Orion, Jens and Alligator all one place forwards. Which means our four-way fight really only a five-way fight, only really a four-way fight now because of Catet absolutely storming away. 1.6 seconds the gap between him and our Henson. So he's looking pretty well set up for P4 as it stands. And our Henson is actually looking quite good for P5, even though he's currently being overtaken by Orion because he's lacking the quantity of time penalties that the Sauber driver is carrying. Now, 2/3 of this battle are totally struggling with their front wings. Interestingly enough, the Sauber is struggling with one side of his end plate missing, McLaren the other side, which I don't know how that's going to make a significant difference around this track, whether missing one is by far and away worse than missing the other. All I know is that Jens is in an amazing position because he's got 2 cars in front of him. He's got damage, and his end plate is just fine. 2 cars of which, as well, are currently in a nice little scrap. Orion in front as it stands, but for quite how long, I'm not too sure. Bold is just coming through, starting lap 21 there, and by the looks of it, Jens Jordan has managed to capitalise on that situation, and he's gotten the place over our Henson, funny enough. Not the way round I was expecting that to finish. I was expecting to see our Henson come out in the front of this pack. In fact, he's actually come out in the back. It's still less than a second splitting the 3 drivers, so it is very close nevertheless, but a bit of a gap beginning to form between the Haas and the Kick Sauber driver, as well as the fact that our Henson putting loads of pressure through Eau Rouge and Radion, and with the help of DRS storms past the Haas as we head up and through the Kemmel Straight. He's now going to close the gap back to the Sauber driver, somewhat of the way, not quite as close as he was previously, but it's certainly an improvement to say the least. And just look at how fast that Haas is in comparison through the corners, just able to bring himself through them and keep the nose tucked in so much better than the McLaren driver, but defending like an absolute mastermind is our Henson, holding off the Haas with his dear life. And to what extent will he give up? I'm not too sure. I don't know how many penalties Jens Jordan has, and I think this could be a massive reason as to why he's holding him off. Jens Jordan has 6 seconds. Orion has 12 seconds of time penalties. So he knows comfortably that Orion is not going to pull 12 seconds over the space of a lap, which, in all fairness, makes total sense. That's not occurring. 6 seconds, though, with a good front wing, is kind of possible. We are now onto the final lap of the race. Bold has just gone across the line for the second to last time before this race is completed. And these drivers still very close together. It is staying interesting right down to the line. I genuinely do not know who's going to come out on track on top of this. I know exactly the way the order is going to finish, because so long as these 3 drivers come across the line in similar pace, it's going to go a certain way. Only if somebody spins or has an absolute horror show is it going to end any differently than our Henson, then Jens, then Orion. Either way, the McLaren driver is going to go for the move at the chicane. Gets the first bit done nicely, gets it tucked around the outside. Wonderful swooping move there by the McLaren driver, and puts himself into P5, but not for long, because the Sauber driver is going to try and have a pop down the inside at the tight right, but I think No Name is going to allow McLaren to get it through, and I think Orion's going to try and go for the switchback here. Back to some good racing here from the Sauber driver as he now gets involved in with the Haas and slicks himself in front there nicely. Jens just trying to get his nose in, but it wasn't quite to be. We're going to now jump ahead to our current man in the lead, because he hasn't quite spent the entire time in the lead, but he may as well have. He's done an absolute total blinder over everyone else. A magnificent qualifying session and an amazing win for Bold as he wins here in Belgium, and a surprise appearance from Mr. Cookie in P2 as he's made an excellent comeback through the race. Blackbone there picking up P3, and Jens picking up another 3 second time when the Cadet finishes in P4. Henson is going to come across the line in P5. Orion and Jens have to switch after Orion picking up significantly more penalties. And Alligator gets himself in front as well. What a surprise. Absolutely storming through, and that is, everybody, across the line. So with that, the Alpine driver sits comfortably on the top step of the podium, to the delight of the home fans. And I think Mr. Cookie has done an amazing job at redeeming this race the best he can as well. So two amazing performances. In fact, actually, three amazing performances across the podium, which you cannot give any doubt that they were all fantastic drives by all three drivers. Congratulations to all three of them. Oh, I'm not. I can't do my race rundown. That is outrageous. As I finish this, slow on track. Honestly, chaos. That's your best answer, Jens. Chaos. Chaos occurred, and that's how you finish sixth. Right, well, with that, I think we'll have to round out. Thank you all very much for watching. I have been the Characteristics. This has been BRL Tier 1 Round 6. Thank you, and good night.